3, 2, hey everyone, welcome to Zeitgeist Zealots. Zeitgeist Zealots. I'm Forrest.
I'm Major.
I'm Chip.
I forget the order, but I'm Matt.
I know Robbie threw us all off.
Yeah, so. Right? Where's Robbie?
Guys, you want to talk about being thrown off?
At the haunted house, apparently. Well, I don't know, was that earlier this week?
That was earlier this week, yeah. No, he was just thrown off by the time schedule this week, yes. But speaking of being thrown off...
To understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past, but the future.
Let's hop straight into the news. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've been saying Timothée Chalamet's name all wrong. Did you guys have any idea about this? Have you heard about this at all?
You guys say it as Frenchy as possible. Timothée Chalamet.
It is French, but the way it's actually spelled, it's not Timothy, it's Timothée. Timothée. His name is Timothée Chalamet.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
What a beautiful name. But yeah, so like his name's not Timothy, it's Timothée. And we're just like, yeah, whatever. We're Americans. We're gonna look here, Dune Boy. We're gonna pay you whatever the fuck we want. And we're gonna call you what the hell we want to.
Did y'all see the Timothée Chalamet Kitty Baby Lookalike contest in New York?
No. What is this?
There was a literal Timothée Chalamet Lookalike contest in Manhattan, and it was crashed by Timothée Chalamet. He was with some bodyguards because
good for him. He should show up.
But he showed up, and I think I don't know, shook hands with the winner or something, but I think the winner was like because they what movies has he done? He's done Wonka and Dune, and I think that's it. But
he's done some others. You guys remember?
I've really not seen any of the movies he's done besides Dune and.
Back in our day, do you guys remember when Bob Dylan came in third place in the Bob Dylan Lookalike contest?
Oh, was that in The Usual Suspects?
I don't know if that's in The Usual Suspects. That's another fantastic movie I've never seen.
It's like one of those
it is a fun fact.
It's weird, factoids that I've heard that in a movie. Did you know Bob Dylan finished third in a Bob Dylan lookalike? I've heard that in
it's probably just
some
really
movie
or
TV show.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Lend me your ears.
Because you can judge a lot by a character. Or maybe you can't.
Good news is good news.
We are not getting political here.
Little light is shining through the window. Lets me know everything's all right. Summer breeze, go to sleep.
Right, but we're going to touch upon this because we're going to have a little broader discussion, if you don't mind, just for a second. The incredibly esteemed publication, The New York Post, published an article recently said J.D. Vance plays Magic the Gathering, and his favorite card could reveal GOP candidates' dark potential ambitions. So I just want to read you a little bit of this, and then I want to have a conversation with you guys just for a second or two. If we could talk about, can you judge a person based on the character of the card they're playing? All right, so
that's literally.
Well, spoiler alert. But let's
as a Magic player, I have so many questions. So I want to hear this article really quick.
All right, so we're gonna read just the fun part, the beginning here for everyone. J.D. Vance may have revealed his cards too early in the race. Fans of the fantasy card game Magic the Gathering have discovered Vance's favorite card, which they believe reveals everything voters need to know about the vice presidential candidate's values. In a recent interview with Semaphore, the Ohio revealed his adolescent obsession with the game. The Ohio? Is he the entire state? That's bad. Great grammar there, New York Post. The big problem transitioning from a 13-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering to being a 15-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering is that 15-year-old girls do not like Magic the Gathering, he confessed. So I dropped it like a bad habit. So we will touch upon this in a second. But I think we can all relate to having a fun hobby. Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever you want to fucking call it, Game Boy, right? Like, there were some kids who did not want to get laid in high school, and they were walking around with Game Boys. You didn't have cell phones back in our days, right? But they had Game Boy Color, Pong, I think back in Matt's day.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
But, you know, like, there were people who were just, like, not trying to get laid in high school, and that's it. But if you were making a concerted effort to get laid in high school, you probably dropped the anime, the Yu-Gi-Oh, the Pokemon, the Dragon Ball Z, the Digimon.
And focus solely on pursuing
the Magic the Gathering, right?
Yeah.
So is he abandoning his nerd ways, or is that just biological? We'll talk about that. That's an interesting thought here. But I want to talk about what Matt really cares about, and that's his favorite card. And I apologize, I'm going to butcher this name. I did try to pronounce it earlier in practice. Yawgmoth's Bargain, where it's an enchantment. You get to skip your draw step, pay 1 life to draw a card. And then in quotes at the bottom it says, he craves only 1 commodity, which I guess would be life.
I mean,
yeah. But basically, so I believe the card, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but basically, you just give up some life points to draw as many cards as you want to. It is banned it was introduced in 1999, but it's been banned in most competitive Magic tournaments. This is a quote, due to its reputation as the ultimate trump card. I cannot. I kid you not. All right, we'll give you some more writing. A little JD Vance, a little Trump syndication or synergy there. Matt, are you familiar with this card?
Yes, actually, it's from Urza's Destiny or Urza's Legacy, I believe. And I have so many questions. Being a Magic nerd, like, are we talking? Is he playing a deck in Standard? In Legacy, is he playing a deck? Well, obviously not Standard. Is he playing Commander? Like,
do you
what
want
format is he playing? Because the format he's playing actually
Logician?
depends.
So he was in an interview, and he probably just thought of the first card he could think of, and that was the most popular in his day. And he was like, big one, bam. That's my.
So
that's my favorite.
You think
because if somebody were to ask me in an interview and I was running for a politician, I'd be like Charizard. He just roasted 120 damage attack. That's
okay. I see what you're saying.
Charizard.
So
you know,
he's
what I mean?
not faking it. He just doesn't. You're saying he's just going off of.
Dude, there's probably like 4 or 5 cards that he can remember in his head, and that's
right. I see. Okay.
Probably the
first
one that just popped in the interview. If you would want a logical.
With the fact that this is a banned card. Is very interesting, but that's kind of the point I wanted to get to. There's a lot of lack of detail in this article for actual Magic nerds, and I get you can't explain and break it down, but sometimes you just want to name a controversial card to like kind of get the Magic nerds,
why not
interested.
Hey, you're already pulling through the roof. It's 18 to 35 males, right? Might as well just fucking just dive into it.
I don't want to say it's an obscure card, but like you have to be playing for a while to recognize this card. So I think it's kind of he named it to kind of try to get the little nerd vote who are on the fence. So,
if you listen to JD Vance speak, he's like IQ 160. He's he's
a venture capitalist.
Pretty.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to him. He's very good on the mic. He is very, very smart. And yeah, so straight. You tell that couch she's a lady now. Thank you. Fuck fake news, but that's a hilarious story. Guys, speaking of not fake news, have you ever heard of morphic resonance? We're going to get to the Penguin episode 6 Gold Summit here. Just 1 second, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've discovered some truly fascinating information, and I would be remiss if I didn't share it with you guys. So morphic resonance, have you guys ever heard about this? It's a scientific theory that when you teach some animals something, all the animals learn it, right? So like one bird learns to fly south, and now all the birds know how to fly south, or something like that. It's a hypothesis. It's a bizarre and ridiculous hypothesis. Except there's a little bit of science, just a little bit of science that proves it might actually be a real thing. So they did this crazy study where on the west coast of America, they taught these rats a maze. And then on the East Coast, they had these untaught rats run the same maze, and they ran it faster on a statistically significant degree. Interesting theory. I don't know how to think about it. I'm not sure what to make of it, but like, I mean, there is something called the Akashic Records, if you're not familiar with that. Maybe animals hold key. Maybe they have... they're more in line to the point.
Ancestral memory on an anecdotal level is definitely observably in the human experience and my own human experience,
yes.
very real.
But like, if you
stood in your ancestral home ground, you know.
But imagine if you let a Yolanda...
You can't quantify that and put that in a scientific paper, so...
Right? This is real time, right? Like, imagine if Matt met a Yolanda in California, and then all of a sudden... And got robbed, and all of a sudden I became more scared of Yolanda in South Carolina. Right? Like, that's a very... Science is weird. Science has some very, very weird studies going on right now. But speaking of playing to your strengths, I just want to talk about, while we dive into the Penguin, Oz. I don't know if you guys caught this and I didn't catch it the first time. I had to rewatch this multiple times. The second time I caught this on the rewatch. But Oz multiply, like throughout the episode, tries to fix this generator so he can keep his mom warm. He just wants to keep his damn mom warm. And he doesn't have the mechanical ability to fix this generator. So he's got to revert back to the skills he actually has, which is roughing up a politician, right? And making putting some nose pliers to the politician and making that guy revert power back to Crown Point because he can't fucking fix this generator. If he fixed that generator, the rest of Crown Point wouldn't have power at all, which leads me into the Penguin. Season 1, episode 6, Gold Summit.
I love how he's being hunted by both the Falcons and the Maronis. He can just drive to City Hall, no problem.
You mean the Gigantes? The
Gigantes.
The Gigantes.
The Gigantes. And the Chalamet.
So, Matt, I think you can agree with me on this. Why is the Penguin doing more good for Gotham than the Batman?
Maybe
I mean, like, can we not have... Can we not have bad guys anymore? I mean, look, this was like a Disney contagion. You had the prequel to the 101 Dalmatians where, you know, that bitch played by Emma Stone was the good guy. You know, before she skinned all those fucking Dalmatians, Disney was like, no, have empathy for her, and we're going to make a movie about her. But now, like, and then you look at the Acolyte, and we're like, the bad guys are the good guys, and the Jedis are the bad guys. But, like, that's all Disney contagion, and it's now come over to the Penguin. Now it's come over to Max, and now we've got the bad guys doing more good than the good guys.
No. So I think you're totally misinterpreting it. He is still a bad guy. It's all about him. And feeding his ego and him manipulating people. Bad. And we've seen it already with Vic, how he's manipulated him. He seemed to be this father figure, but they're actually in a very abusive relationship, a very carceral where Vic does something in this episode, which he never would have done before had he not been in Penguin's sphere of influence.
He's growing up.
This is not about helping people. This is about Penguin becoming,
would you call this toxic masculinity? Because I call this true masculinity. This is a father figure.
I really think this speaks to how manipulative and
he is very manipulative.
He does not actually care about anybody. He cares about power.
He cares about his mom.
And this is how he manipulates people to power. He cares about his mom.
And he cares about Vic. I'm going to tell you, he cares about Vic.
He is using the people of Crown Point right now because it serves his purpose to get that power.
And Crown Point is using him too to make money. It is a capitalistic society. You sell the drugs. I need you to run the drugs. You buy the drugs. I need you to make the money. They make the money. What do you think about this, Forrest?
Yeah, well, this isn't Vic's first murder, is it? He ran over a guy in the previous episode, right?
Right, but it is the first time he got.
I
was
actually
glad.
murder him?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, you permanently disabled him. Okay.
You made him shit his pants, which is basically being shot in the neck. It's basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, but I was like, dude, just put him out of his misery. Hit him in the head. Like,
yeah, he should have.
Cool.
But, at the same time, it's also, that guy made his life miserable. I know that, I just brain farted on his name. Vic. I know that the Vic's not like that, but you looked at him and, like, he was like, why'd you make me do this? Why? He was just, he tried to be cool.
Was it?
He did. He paid him off. And then that squid motherfucking douchebag was like, oh, yeah, you're going to pay me next week because the money's already disappearing, just throwing it on the ground or whatever.
But
disrespect.
My point remains, would he have done that had he not been under the Penguin's influence?
No, but...
Exactly. So it's how the Penguin manipulates the people above, like below him to get his power. And now, that sequence too, we'll get to the fact that Vic shot Squid and killed him, and it's a very awkward scene. It's a very, like, he shoots him in the neck and he bleeds out and he's apologizing the whole time. But the fact that he then goes to the Penguin, and what does he do? He looks at him, he's like, it gets easier, and then hugs him as if he's a father figure. He's definitely trying to, like, make him his, like, number one lackey.
He trusts him.
I think it's very interesting because there's a part 2 where I know Victor Aguilar is not going to survive this season because the Penguin looks at him. He's like, we're going to run this place and people are going to remember the names Oswald and Victor Aguilar. And I'm like,
I don't remember that name at all.
Yeah.
He's so dead. I don't remember that name.
So
what if you do know that name? Oh, go ahead.
Squid is apparently a comic book character. I had no idea. There's actually a Batman villain called the Squid, and but he's not like, he doesn't have like Squid-like powers. He basically is just a crime lord who has a giant pet squid that he just feeds people to.
Ooh, yummy.
So, what if you do know this character, Matthew? Allow me. Are you sitting down? I'm sitting down.
DC. It's DC. So.
What if you do know a Victor? A Victor Freeze.
Or a Victor Zsasz.
Or Victor Zsasz.
Oh, Victor
he becomes
Freeze.
a crazy... either one. Right, but Victor Freeze, that way Aguilar, you can just change it, right? He gets... Something happens. He's working for the Penguin. Some CO2 gets blasted over him. Now he's got to change his last name for the fucking comics, right? Victor Zsasz. Zsasz, not so much. You're like, why'd you change your last name? Maybe he meets a hot girl and he takes her last name and then he becomes Victor Zsasz. But I like my Victor Freeze idea a little bit more.
Well, everyone's saying Mr. Freeze might be the bad guy in the next Batman movie. Although,
well, what if Victor?
They should redo
You think
Mr.
he's
Freeze.
stuttering
That's a good one.
because it's
That's a good
cold,
one.
but he's stuttering because he's stuttering.
And I read like a really cool idea. What if they did like a Thing-esque CLAYFACE murder mystery where he's like killing people and taking their identities?
Well, you just say actually that's the only CLAYFACE is the only episode you liked from Batman: The Caped Crusader.
But he's also like one of like the only few main Batman villains we haven't seen in a movie yet. Like, do you really want to? I mean, I guess Mr. Freeze could work. In this,
I would like to see. I would like to see.
We don't want to see Two-Face again. You know, we don't want to see Bane. No, not Two-Face with Joker for a while. I mean, let's just let's see some other ones that have never been adapted before.
I really think we're going to see Scarecrow and Penguin going.
I was going to say $5. You say Calendar Man
either. Scarecrow's in all 3 of the Nolan movies, so I don't want to see Scarecrow either. I'd be down to see like Poison Ivy again, like maybe more like as a more militant eco-terrorist and just.
I want to see Poison Ivy by today's writers.
Well, that's the thing. That's the only way she could work now. She like just make her more like militant, and just like more ruthless. Like don't like make her like
But before you say
before
that,
you
and
say
then
that,
before you say
there's
that, and then
copy.
2 years later, we're gonna make fun of her for being super gay, and we're gonna show the South Park meme, where Kathleen Clooney is like, make her lame, make her gay.
Poison Ivy is already a woman though, so they can't like gender bend Poison Ivy. They can just
no, but they would
could.
just make her gay,
Make
and
her
then with
more- just make-
Harley Quinn,
well, she's gay for plants.
they can make her very butch. They would ruin the character. Don't you fucking
Bushed.
that's a good
The
one.
issue-
I like it.
If we make her more militant, aren't we just copying Marvel at this point with Winter Soldier and Flappy Bird?
Oh,
guy?
are we copying
she has a
the only
plant- she
IP
has
that's
a
ever
plant-
worked?
Man.
That's probably gonna go well with shareholders.
That's
if you say you're
good,
copying
man.
Marvel. You know what I don't want to fucking copy is whatever the hell Sofia was doing with Dr. Rush. I don't know what kind of weird sex stuff's going on there, but that was weird.
hey,
that
no,
was bad.
Do not
too-
king
Yeah.
shame.
That's some
Do not
fucked
king
up
shame.
shit.
As long as they're not harming anybody else, do not king shame.
Dr. Soy Boy over here, he's like, are you hurt? I deserve it. Bored with me already? But here's this.
Right.
Here's my question.
All right.
He says, hey, if you find Oz, feel free to take advantage of my expertise. So, like, he's a torturer, right? Who do we know tortures people in Arkham?
Black Mask? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
bro.
Maybe not Arkham.
Well, I was going to say Hugo Strange.
But he has hair.
Well, I guess he's got for hims, and this guy listens to podcasts. Not sponsored by for hims, but maybe, probably someday, one day will be. That reminds me, if you're liking the podcast so far, and it's 20 minutes in, so you gotta be loving it, right? Go ahead, drop us a like button, subscribe, comment down below. Will Victor make it through the rest of the season?
What Sophia did to Dr. Rush.
And
Alright,
if you
so-
don't, we'll turn you into a shim.
Here's my question: how much time has passed from this last episode to this
Your throat would be
episode?
appropriate.
Because in the last episode, Oz is complaining, "Oh my God, we've only got 2 buckets of mushrooms," and then this episode, he's got a huge production. But then later on, right? Sophia is like, "Sal, what are you doing out of your room?" So you're telling me Sal's been locked up in his room for long enough to create this giant drug production? Like, what is happening here?
That's definitely one of the issues I did have with this episode, because there's several instances where Squid is like, I saw you with this woman the other night, and yet we have the whole Unreal system going. We have
Right?
we're feeding, we're feeding groups, this new drug, and
Was this a
like,
10
it just-
episode
this- the
series?
this timeline is very interesting and
Sketch.
curious.
Sketch.
And I think it's just one of the few times so far that the writing has kind of failed. And I feel consistently with shows like this is where they do fail, is they try to rush one idea and try to promote another, and timing just seems off.
No, I completely agree. I don't really understand it, but like, at least the pacing is good. If you just, yes, refrigerator logic, even though that's not even refrigerator logic, that was like instantly like, wait, what is happening? Why are these mushrooms in full production and yet he's coming out of his room for the first time? And they're a cook who gives a shit. But what they do decide is that, and holy cow, this episode makes so much more sense if you rewatch it a second time, because at the beginning you hear more Irish accents and they're talking about the Donny boys, and like, so Victor in the beginning, when he's talking to the penguin, he's like, Donny's boys were like being followed, and I think they got seen by Moroni or Gigante, right? And then we find out at the dinner table here that they were seen by one of the guys, so they kill 3 of the Donny boys. In their own territory. But you don't really understand any of that until you get to the Golden Summit, which they do hint a lot, right? That they need to all kind of come together. Here's one of my things at the beginning monologue, right? Which is beautiful. We brushed right over this, but this was a great fucking monologue. I think it was weird. It's kind of being like, cut undermined by HBO saying, skip recap, when it was not the recap, it was the start of the episode. Very weird. But The Penguin was recapping the actual episode himself. And then when he's talking after that, he's talking to Victor about, he's like, you know how many boroughs there are in Gotham? Like, there's a ton of boroughs. Bitch, there's 5 boroughs. There's enough boroughs that the Beastie Boys can rap about it. Like, it is not that many boroughs. I thought that was, like, weird. He tried to make it seem like there were, like, 20 or 30 boroughs when there's really just 5 in the Gotham canon.
Well, manipulative people tend to use hyperbole to get their point across.
That's very, very true. Also, yeah. Speaking of using manipulative hyperbole, what did you think about Mrs. Cobblepot having an episode, and then Vic was like trying to calm her down, so he started talking about one of her dead kids. It's like, oh, no, Johnny's gone down to...
He calmed her down by telling her he would kill her.
Kill her? How so?
Well, she said she didn't want to be a vegetable, so she made him...
Oh, no, not that part. Oh, no. Yeah, that's later on. Yeah, after the shower scene. Yeah, no, I was like, yeah.
It depends on what kind of vegetable, though.
I was talking about the breakfast scene.
Like pumpkin?
Yeah, but we can skip. Let's go back to the shower scene. So, like, you know, after a great night of running free drugs, because after the Gigante Maronais killed 3 of Donnie Boys, no one's going to touch the product anymore because there are a bunch of smaller gangs, which is why they need the Golden Summit. So Oz decides to give the drug away for free. He pulls a Rockefeller. Classic capitalism. Works like a charm every single time.
It's in the playbook.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
Where is it? I can't hear anyone.
I lost my train. Matt came back online, and I looked at his cup, and then I lost my train of thought completely.
Looked at his cup?
Yeah, his cup. Look, pull up your cup. Yeah. You just see that on just mid-sentence, and then like just out of sight, you just see this grown-ass man just drinking that random cup, right? This might be beer. Yeah. I started reading that, and I was like, what happened here?
Is that ever gonna make a comeback? You gotta send me some of that for Christmas.
Yeah, it might, but we'll see.
Okay. Right now they're making Berserker brews, so like totally different, a bit hoppier. So yeah, I really liked the scene between Sofia and Eve Carlo, which we all know Carlo is the last name of Clayface. So we think that she like might be a relation, or maybe like the estranged wife of Clayface, maybe. But yeah, they had an interesting conversation. She had her wig off, and she basically just was just like, yeah, you just kill me and leave my girls alone, even though I think you're a serial killer who's crazy and who killed those women. But I think if I let you kill me, you'll leave my other girls alone.
And if not, at least they made a little bit of money.
Great logic.
Yeah, but luckily for her, Sophia is not a serial killer. And she sold Oz out.
I'm not a crazy.
Not right away, but
at the yeah, hoes gonna be hoes, so you can't blame Tammy, as the great Lil Wayne once said. Holy shit, she could just let her walk out, no problem. She was smart. She was so smart. She's like, you think Oswald's gonna tell me that information? And they have some girl time, and they bond, and everything. They're doing great, and they do each other's nails, and then they do each other's their toenails, and then right before she leaves, she's like, yeah, oh, by the way, Oz is at Crown Point. And then, dun, 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 Oz gets the power turned back on. Mrs. Cobblepot is so happy. She's dancing to her music. And then we see this slow fade out, and we all fucking knew it. We all knew what was going to happen. We all knew who. It was zooming out, and then we see her.
So that dance scene took like 20 years
got a gun.
Film.
Can we just take a step back? Because I think what's really great about that scene, though, is kind of comparing Sofia and Penguin and showing how they're actually very similar. Because you go to the Golden Summit, and Oswald's called out for betraying everybody, and he's like, I have, my morals, I have, my reason.
I've got a code. I've got a code.
I've got a code, and here we are presented with this scene where I really thought, honestly, that she was gonna walk away and then shoot her, and then when she told her, "Hey, Crown Point," I thought she was gonna shoot her after that because she betrayed a code. But it shows that Sofia has this code and the Penguin has this code. So I really thought it was interesting because I felt they were comparing Sofia to the Penguin. You know, how they're
Good
actually very similar.
Right.
You know.
They are.
So
I don't
great scene.
I like this episode. This isn't the way I would have wanted this season to go. I would have dragged this out. I would have liked to see them team up more together. I would have liked to see the Sofia and the Oz relationship throughout the first season, and then maybe do the car crash at the end of season 1, and then she teams up with Maroney at the end of episode 10, right at the end of the first season or whatever. But this is what we're doing, and we've got 2 episodes left.
2 more.
What's going to happen? Can you wrap this up in 2 episodes, or is this definitely going to need a second season?
But I will say this too. The scene between Maroney and her, I think, is another great scene because he's making food and presents it to her, and he like offers her the yogurt because it's going to be, whatever it says it tastes better.
Yeah.
Right. She does not stop. She instantly eats it, and it shows you how trusting she is. She's well, because you don't know, because maybe he's trying to poison her. This is like that's an Italian flick, and I thought it really showed how much she's either A, she doesn't give a shit, or B, that she's just really invested in this relationship and she trusts him to the point where he literally prepared food for her and she did not second guess and immediately ate it. And in a lot of books, when you break bread, that is a show of trust, and I think that was them breaking the bread, and just another great scene. We have these 2 great scenes with Sofia in this episode.
I agree. Not only is she breaking bread, but she stopped him to get out the good china to break bread over, right? So
and the good wine.
And she's all alone. Well, that wasn't her decision. He got out the good wine all by himself, and then dumped in the rest of the food.
Yeah, he gets out the good wine, and she briefly complains, but is like, yeah, whatever.
So actually, that was the beginning of my hang-up. So first off, oh my god, this bitch is a fucking criminal mastermind. She knows all this stuff. Oh, and also, she's a sommelier. She knows the best wines. Like, dude, no one knows fucking wine. Everyone's like, oh, is this a dusty bottle? It must be the best. She's like, looks at it, she's like, I can't believe you opened this.
Do know wine.
Not she was in jail.
100%.
She was in jail for 25 years. You think she's holding on to her old ass Italian wine names? Nah, she was out of jail for like 2 weeks. Wine. Nah, I'm just saying. So here's the other thing, and I thought I was like, so I read the notes. I was like, do I make a culture war rant about this or not? Are they cutting Sal Maroni at the fucking knees here? Because you know what kind of legacy a man wants to pass on? The legacy of Sal Maroni in the comic books, like a gangster's legacy. You know what this fucking guy's legacy to pass on is? His fucking wife's recipes, right? It's like, oh, how'd you learn how to cook? Oh, my wife taught me so I could pass along her recipes. Why? Did she think she was gonna die early? What a morbid fucking like sentiment. Also, their recipes, you can just write them down.
No, I have to disagree. Unfortunately, my dad, when he married into an off-the-boat Italian family, and this is just how they are. I love them. They're great. Like, you drink the wine, you cook it this, and then I can't tell you how many men are like, we make the meatballs this way, we make it this way, and so I really think it's very authentic, and I really feel that.
I'll walk back.
Even though it's maybe not outside of the comics, but I really feel like if you've ever been a part of an Italian family, the second you show up, you have to be eating. I can't tell you how many.
So that's real. That's a real stereotype.
Place. Yeah, I would go to my Nana's place, and she'd be like, "You sit, I make you something." I'm like, "You're 90 years old. You do not have to make me something. She's like, no, I make you something. You drink of the wine you eat. And it was very comforting. And once again,
Feminism
it's
was
breaking of
the
the bread.
worst.
Food is love. And that's
Food is
why
love.
the scene with Sophie, the fact that he's inviting her into his family through the food is another reason why this scene is so powerful. Because an Italian family is like, that's the way they show love, is
Oh yeah.
through the food. Like
Oh,
we
But
are serving
Italians
you,
aren't
it's
using
the
yogurt.
breaking of the bread. It's the breaking of the bread. You know?
Yogurt's a very Indian thing to put in curry, right?
Yep. So it's Indian Italian, we'll say, but maybe we can find some issue there.
I love it. No. That sounds like great food. Give me a fucking Italian dish with some curry on top, aka I think that's just called Thai food. At least the Thai food that I've had, it's like noodles and orange chicken, on top, right? And yes, yogurt. Sometimes sometimes I go to the very authentic places and it's too hot. And I'm like, just a little bit of yogurt, just a little bit of yogurt. Have just a little bit of yogurt, please. But guys, you know what doesn't eat any yogurt? This episode, because it was spicy enough as is, and I'm not just talking about Dr.
Because it
Rush.
was Italian and not Greek.
Anyways, so 2 episodes left. Let's go around the table. Final thoughts on the episode and what you're looking for the rest of the season. Can I start with you, Good Forest?
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a twist at the very end. Penguin is going to be revealed to be Clayface the entire season. Mark my word.
God, dude, all right, so no, the writing's not good enough. That's such a good writing. You've ruined the actual season for me. Fuck you.
I mean, the whole point of
Force is a
Clayface
better
as a character.
That's such a
is
good
just to be
idea
that
because
twist.
he's all plaster anyway. Colin Farrell's all plaster. Oh my gosh, season 2, he's
Forrest is a better
Clayface
writer
and
than the
he's just
writers.
Colin Farrell.
Well, I mean, like at the end of what Arkham City, Joker turned out to be
Look,
Clayface. at the
this
very end.
episode is 2 days late, and it's because Forrest had to come up with that most brilliant idea of all time. I love that.
Well, I
so
also want
much.
to mention that scene
Force,
with
God will
Eve.
intervene in your life and bring you to great places.
So that scene with Eve, like it's like all the costumes and all like the wigs, and
stuff like that.
was
Yeah,
definitely a nod to Clayface, who used to be an actor and always changing his appearance.
Or
So I
not
think
to
that was
every
very
prostitute
intentional.
I've ever had sex with.
Was that?
Nothing.
So I would definitely
It's-
say, like, maybe like
It's like every every prostitute has wigs and different costumes. But I like this stretch.
wouldn't
It's-
that be like the best twist, like dark twist for Clayface? Is, like, he
Yes,
used to be, like,
yeah,
pornographic actor.
a gender. No one
And
would see it
then he
coming.
got-
No one would see a
Just
gender
figured-
swapped Clayface coming at all.
Who was a prostitute? Yeah.
What if she's Roxy from the bottom? And that's how she knew to send Roxy. I told Roxy to send you up. And not just Clayface my way up to the there. Matthew, final thoughts on this episode, and what are we doing for these last 2?
So, because Forrest has posed a very plausible ending, I too want to pose a very plausible one. I think in episode 8, Mephisto is going to make an appearance. But anyways, Vic.
I mean, who would be the
At
equivalent
last.
in Deep Sea to Mephisto? Neron?
At last.
That's so
Anyways,
funny.
Vic is dead. They're going to set up the next movie, and it's going to be the Penguin and Scarecrow. And I'm really holding out that they actually follow through with season 2 of this because, like I said, I very rarely get interested in DC, and I'm liking DC right now.
It's so good. I'm gonna skip ahead of you just because my rebuttal is gonna be so pertinent to what Matt just said.
Fair.
But thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Might I persuade you that Victor becomes Victor Freeze because of the Penguin? And then, but what we could get, good sir, is a gorgeous rivalry of the Penguin and Dr. Freeze, and they're angry at each other because they used to be bros, they were homies, he was a mentor, they were in love with each other. And then you could have this dynamic for 20 fucking years, and it would be this is such a beautiful backstory that it would be a shame for it not to be Victor Freeze.
I like what you're proposing, Do I think it actually happens?
Right.
Probably no.
I'm
But
just,
I think
I'm just
that would be awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, apparently,
I was
don't
about
want to
to-
spoil anything, but apparently Sofia, or what's her name, Kristen Milioti,
Yeah.
is apparently going to have a role in the new Batman movie. So I guess
Yeah,
she
she's
will
not
not
going
be
anywhere.
killed.
She's not going anywhere. No, she's too
Yeah,
talented.
I don't think Maroni's going to survive this season, though. Although I was pretty sure he was going to be.
Yeah,
killed
Clancy's
before.
too expensive.
Maroni's dead, but
Yeah, he's too expensive.
the Gigantes.
The Gigantes will live, yeah. No, thank you, Forrest. I really appreciate you interrupting me there because I've been watching a lot of comic clips recently because I was about to go into my MLK voice about having a dream for Victor being Dr. Freeze. So I really appreciate you cutting me off there. Guys, you got to touch some grass sometimes. Watch out for your algorithm. We're going to finish up the podcast with Tip over here. What did you think? Final thoughts on the episode? What are you looking for the last 2 episodes? And for the listeners at home, just to remind you, Tip is our unbiased opinion because he doesn't watch the show. He just listens to the podcast. Like, you should be listening to the podcast. Subscribe every fucking week. That's what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. According to YouTube statistics, 99.9% gentlemen. Thank you, the 2 wives who listen. Anyway, Tip, final thoughts?
I think that the penguin has many more fish to catch, and will probably protects his nest to the best of his ability, and continue to
get some
waddle
foot
on
surgery.
until the
Get
bat-
some-
I think
until
you
the
watched.
Batman comes
Wait,
and
did you,
whips his fucking ass.
did you watch the Penguin on Netflix with Planet Earth, or did you watch the Penguin on HBO Max? Guys,
I
thanks
have
so much.
Netflix and Amazon, damn it.
Thanks so much for watching,
That's all I've
guys.
got.
You've got YouTube, which is where you
Appreciate it.
should be watching us. If not, we're also on Instagram at Zeitgeist Zealots. There you can also check us on X and TikTok at Z Zealots Podcast. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Subscribe down below because we will not be missing a dang episode of The Penguin or any of your favorite nerdy television shows.
Not like Rings of Power, which I've missed the last 3 or 4.
The only thing you're missing is the giant hole in your heart that Galadriel does not fill, or the dam of
Durga Mega Durga.
What was that last city? Arendelle. I cannot. Oregon. That's it. There you go. Oregon. It's only been like a week and I've already forgotten all the names. Because that's what we like to call great writing. It was
Best in the
the
world.
best of times. It was the worst of times. Well, we actually
of
got,
writing, the
we
worst
got
of
pretty
writing.
close to that quote there.